Welcome to Fantastic Fights. On this episode, we'll be taking a look at a wild fight featuring two exciting strikers, Michel Pereira and Zelim Imadaev. But before we take a look at the action, let's see how these two men ended up facing off in the first place. Michel Pereira had accumulated quite the highlight reel from his time before the UFC, entering the promotion with a record of 22 wins and 9 defeats with 15 finishes. Also, he was known for doing wild stuff in his fights like backflips, dancing, and acrobatic attacks. His journey into martial arts started when he was 12 years old and got into karate. Around the age of 16, he began rounding out his skill set with BJJ, and it was off to the races after that. He made his professional debut in 2011 on the Brazilian regional scene, going 9-3 before moving on to bigger promotions such as Jungle Fight, Serbian Battle Championships, and Road FC, as well as others. He was getting some notoriety among MMA circles online for his antics during fights. Partner that with decent enough success, and his UFC debut was just a matter of time. And his debut went about as good as one could expect. He fought like an anime character in real life and scored an exciting finish over Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. This excited MMA fans around the world and really captured the imagination of the MMA audience and media. Just how good could a guy who uses this goofy style be? After all, Danny Roberts is no slouch in the octagon, as you'll come to see later in this very video. Michel was less lucky on his second foray into the cage, as he was scheduled to face Sergey Kandoshko, but the fight was cancelled due to Sergey having visa issues. So in stepped UFC debutant Tristan Connolly, a Canadian grappler with a bunch of finishes. Tristan usually fights at 145 pounds and Michel fights at 170, so Pereira was definitely underestimating the Canadian going into this fight. Pereira danced his way into the octagon and was generally using a lot of energy before the fight even started. Once the first round was underway, Michel dug into his usual bag of tricks and put on a crazy display of flips, dancing, and acrobatics. None of his offense was landing particularly well, and Connolly found the takedowns, leading to a rough round 2 and 3 for Pereira, and he was comfortably outclassed after totally gassing against Tristan. Pereira's next fight was against the aging Diego Sanchez, who I'm actually a big fan of, and that is why it's unfortunate that he was in the midst of his partnership with Joshua Fabia, a stain in the history books of MMA, and a rabbit hole I highly recommend diving down on your own. The point about Joshua in this story being Diego became a shell of himself under Fabia's guidance and didn't perform very well, even for his aging status. Now Michel, on the other hand, looked much better in this fight than his last one. He was much more reserved with his energy and saved up for explosive moments, but didn't overexert himself. I have mixed feelings about one of my favorite modern fighters taunting one of my favorite MMA veterans while beating the crap out of him, but they are good highlights for the reel. As much as Michel had the fight in the palm of his hand, he let it slip away when he illegally kneed Diego in the head while he still had a knee of his own to the ground. Diego took the disqualification win to the surprise of many. Call it a veteran move, call it a way out, it really doesn't matter. Michel now has a 1-2 record in the UFC, and he is in need of a good matchup as well as a saving performance after what was starting to look like a potentially disastrous UFC run.